I don't like the decision. I don't understand it. Like this could have been super fly. It could have been Steph and Clay versus Sabrina and Caitlin, right? In the 3-point shooting contest. I just think there's so many different things that we could have done to just make the weekends big.
So we can't do that this summer.
During the summertime, a lot of NBA guys are traveling. They're doing things with their families. And so you might find yourself in a situation where Steph Curry is out of town, out the country, having some international obligation. I'm being honest. Like she's chilling. She's working out. She doesn't have any professional obligation right now. She's playing amateur golf. Like, do you want to help the sport grow or not? Welcome to another episode of The Fumble. I'm Rodney Rikai. We have Samaria Terry in the building. Hello, beloved. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I just came back from vacation for my birthday. I am all relaxed. I'm good. Okay. How are y'all doing out in LA?
We doing just fine. A little overcasty, but I was going to ask because your color definitely looks a little bit different. I thought it was like just a different makeup color that you were using, but it's actual like the sun is what changed our complexion.
I got a slight tan. I
thought you got Trump's makeup artist. So I didn't know. You ready to talk some sports?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right, Lakers head coach JJ Redick is saying that he might have put Bronny James in a tough spot after giving him extended minutes Tuesday night against the 76ers. So in those 15 minutes, which was a career high for Bronny, he went 0 of 5 with 3 turnovers. He also had the daunting task of guarding Tyrese Maxey, who put up 43 points. Now, Rodney, Bronny had been doing quite well down in the G League, coming off a season-high 31-point game. So who do you feel like is really at fault here?
I don't think anybody is at fault. I don't understand what the outcry is. This young man was given an opportunity to play against one of the toughest point guards in the league. And if you ever watched the Knuckleheads podcast featuring Darius Miles and Quentin Richardson, like the first question they ask people is, who's the first person to bust your ass? And Bronny James now has the delight and joy of being like, yo, Tyrese Maxey bust my ass. And that's just a part of the NBA. Like there are just certain people. Tyrese Maxey, I've seen him go for 60 in an NBA game, right? So it's not like he was trying to guard JJ Barea and JJ Barea lit him up for 45 or whatever. I don't understand what the problem is with somebody being given an opportunity and just, having a bad game or just not having the opportunity to look good. It's what happens to everybody.
Yeah, because you're right. I've seen so many people talking about this on social media. I think I watched the Gilbert Arenas podcast on it, and they were all talking about that was a bad, like they shouldn't have done him like that. They shouldn't have put him in that type of predicament. And I thought that was interesting because I'm like, he's getting minutes. Like, unfortunately, he has to be thrown out there. So I kind of hate that JJ is putting this all on him, and a lot of people are kind of bashing him for maybe making the decision. Honestly, I don't even think it was Redick's decision because I don't feel like he makes decisions. I feel like if it's about Bronny, we know who's making the decisions.
I don't know about that. I know what she's implying, but I don't know if I agree.
I feel like if LeBron and Rich Paul didn't think that Bronny was ready, he would not have been called up.
What I'll say is because Bronny was playing so well the last couple of weeks in the G League, it felt like, okay, his confidence is surging. Let's give him an opportunity to see what he can do on the NBA level. Like, let's see if that confidence translates into the NBA. The Lakers are looking for somebody at that guard position who can play a little defense, maybe insert a little energy into a lineup. The team at times can feel a little old, a little stagnant. And so it's nothing wrong with having fresh legs. We all saw that dunk that Bronny had last week, so maybe that swell of confidence was just going to put him in a position to have a better impact than what he actually had on the game. If Gilbert Arenas' son was put in that same position, Gilbert Arenas would say, yeah, bust my son's ass. Like that, he throws his son to the wolves. He has his son doing one-on-one drills against Kevin Durant. That's Kevin Durant. Understand what I'm saying? So I don't like this coddling of Bronny. Let him go out there and sink or swim on his own accord. Now we all know he cannot guard Tyrese Maxey. Maybe he'll be better off for it. Maybe his confidence will go to the and he'll be worse for it, but at least he had the opportunity to see what it's like being matched up against one of the most premier point guards in the entire league.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like obviously everybody thought he was ready, and that's why you put him in. He put up 31 points down in the G League, so it's like you mentioned, the energy boost. They were playing a back-to-back, And JJ was like, "Look, let's call him up." They were in the middle of a 5-game road stretch.
Yeah. And they were getting their ass kicked. Be very clear. Before Bronny got into the game, they were getting like Tyrese already had like 20 or something like that. And so it was like, yo, let's just try anything. Let's try something to try to stop this guy from killing us like this. I don't understand. I genuinely don't understand what the outcry is. Like, people sink and swim, people fail, people have success. That is a part of professional sports. That's a part of life, period. Right. I think just based on what I've seen from Bronny, from his time at USC to his time in the G League to his games in the NBA, he's played, I think, 13 games in the league now. He's somebody who's up and down. He hasn't yet found his legs underneath him. And I think, by all accounts, moments like these will lend him to being a formidable player in the NBA. I think he's a professional player. I know that's a conversation. I think Bronny James is a NBA pro, and not necessarily a rotational guy, but somebody who is going to work extremely hard. He's going to challenge and push your starters and your regular rotation guys. And in pinch situations, I think he'll be able to go out there and play effective and efficient basketball. But he's just got to continue to work on it. It's just, he's a rookie. I haven't heard anybody talk about Zachary Ricochet, the number 1 overall draft pick in Atlanta. I don't even know who's the front runner for Rookie of the Year right now. I guess it's Khalil Ware down in Miami. I just don't hear anybody talking about anybody else from this draft class. But we are so fixated on Bronny because of his last name. And it's just like, if we remove that, is this kid doing so bad? I don't think so.
Yeah, hopefully this doesn't hurt his confidence. I don't think it will. He can just go back down to the G League and continue to ball out like he's been doing. But you let us know down in the comments, what do you make of JJ Redick saying that he put Bronny James in a tough spot? We want to hear from you.
Caitlin Clark Samaria has turned down a chance to participate in the NBA All-Star Game 3-point shooting contest, stating that she wants her first 3-point contest appearance to be in the WNBA All-Star Game in Indiana later this year. Is she, though, making the right choice by not taking advantage of a big weekend, my sister?
I think it's commendable, honestly, because we already know that the NBA All-Star Game is going to get all of these eyes, all these people watching. If she's able to get Steph Curry or LaMelo Ball or any of these other guys that are really shooting right now at a high level to come and compete against her in the WNBA All-Star Game, it's going to be huge. It's going to be the biggest thing. That's all anybody's going to be talking about. So like I said, I think it's a great move for her, because at the end of the day, what's important to her is the WNBA. So
No. Once again, we're being robbed of moments, yo. Like, this is her second time doing it. She didn't participate.
But we could get the moment in Indianapolis.
Yo.
This summer.
What do you think had a bigger opening weekend, Rocky or Rocky 2? Sometimes the sequel is just, there's so much more anticipation because we've seen it, right? So let's say she went out there and performed well, right? Like, let's just, you know what? Let me remove Caitlin from the equation. A couple of years ago, Sabrina Ionescu had a 3-point shooting contest against Steph Curry. It was must-see television, right? Came down to literally, I think, the last 2 shots. Steph ended up eking out the win. So everybody has this anticipation. Everybody now knows that these women can shoot just as good as Steph Curry. Now, if Steph had went to the WNBA All-Star Game and they had a rematch, then I think we are looking at a situation and a scenario where even more eyeballs are going to be glued to that screen, because inherently men are not going to, most people, let me not just say men, most people are not tuned into the WNBA All-Star Game to the same level that they are the NBA All-Star Game. So you take the chance to be on that stage, and then you take that energy and you transfer it over to when it's time for your All-Star Game. That's the best way of going about it. In music, right? If you're a lesser known artist, you want to hop on the bigger artist's song so people can see how special you are. It's marketing, it's branding, it's promotion. Of course, you want to ride the coattails of the bigger entity to make people more aware of who and what you are. I just think it's a bad formula. It's a bad strategy. And once again, we're being robbed of moments. And I don't understand why athletes do it. I feel the same way about LeBron not being in the dunk contest ever. Like, I just don't get why the modern athlete is not wanting to give fans the ultimate experience of seeing them do the thing that fans wish they could.
Right. Well, I mean, it didn't come down to money this time. It was her decision. So
yeah, I don't like the decision.
What do you make of that?
I don't like the decision. I don't understand it. Like, this could have been Superfly. It could have been Steph and Clay versus Sabrina and Caitlin, right? In the 3-point shooting contest. I just think there's so many different things that we could have done to just make the weekends big.
So we can't do that this summer.
During the summertime, a lot of NBA guys are traveling. They're doing things with their families. And so you might find yourself in a situation where Steph Curry is out of town, out the country, having some international obligation. I'm being honest. Like she's chilling. She's working out. She doesn't have any professional obligation right now. She's playing amateur golf. Like, do you want to help the sport grow or not? Like, do you want, like, these are the things that superstars back in the day used to do. Yo, I want to continue to expand this game globally. Michael Jordan, let me get on the 92 Olympic team. Like, these are the things that historical athletes have always done to help grow the game. And now I think that so many athletes are more hell-bent on growing their brand. And this is when corporate dollars gets in the way of the expansion of sport. And I think it's not good business.
But I don't think that she's trying to grow her brand. I think that she's trying to grow the league in which she plays, which is the WNBA. And if you're getting this huge moment, why give it to the NBA and not give it to the WNBA? That's what I'm saying. I think it's kind of smart for her because all eyes will now be on the WNBA All-Star Game, which historically not a lot of people watch that much.
Okay. So Samaria, let me ask you a question, right? What do you think would be the better business model for the WNBA to be an opener game for NBA games or for them to be standalone games on their own accord?
Yeah, I mean, obviously if they opened up, that's better. If they opened up for NBA games, I think that would be better for them. However, what I'm saying is you're going to get all of these eyes on the NBA All-Star Game and nobody's still going to watch. If you can get some of those eyes on the WNBA All-Star Game by bringing in Steph and Clay.
It's a lot easier to take eyeballs from a bigger known entity, right, and transfer it over to a smaller entity than it is to have a smaller entity and ask for eyeballs that are generally on the larger entity to come over there. It's like you have to have some sort of you have to create some sort of synergy between the two. And this is the window in which you do it. Like, this is the opportunity where you go into the big show and you show everybody out there, yo, I can compete with anybody. And so now when I'm over here, now they got to come to our world. I want y'all to see how they look in our world because I've already shown you what it looks like when I'm on their battlefield. I think it's a missed opportunity, but whatever. I'm sure down the line it'll happen again. I think when you have these windows, you got to take advantage of them. Anyway, a couple more things I want to talk about revolving around the WNBA. A couple of highly, highly known players. I don't like that. A couple of very, very well-known players have switched teams. We have Brittany Griner going to Atlanta. We have Kelsey Plum is now going to be a member of the Los Angeles Sparks. Just a lot. Alyssa Thomas is also going to the Phoenix Mercury. There's just a lot of action and activity going around the WNBA right now. What do you think of all the player movement?
You know what? I love it. It's kind of sad though, because the women that you're naming have been with these teams forever, right? Mm-hmm. Like, when you think of Kelsey Plum, you think of the Aces. You think about her with this group of women that won all these championships. So it's kind of difficult, but I do like the switch up. Like, I feel like Los Angeles needs a player like Kelsey Plum to add on with Cameron Brink and Rikai Jackson. So I think it's great. I can't wait to see Brittany Griner in Atlanta. Like, okay, girl, like, I just feel like it's kind of spreading the wealth a little bit. Like, I feel like some of these teams needed another superstar, and so they're getting that. And I feel like we're not going to just have like the same teams winning. So I think it's great. I think it's great for the league.
Brittany Griner going to have that arena down in Atlanta looking real different. She
What do you mean?
Hey, Brittany Griner, she bring them out. Women be loving Brittany Griner. She is Zanny to a lot of women out there. Anyway, I don't necessarily like all the player movement, primarily because I feel like there are certain players that I identify with certain teams in the W, and it just feels like old school NBA basketball. Like, you could really build a commitment in your fandom to a team because you knew that specific players were going to be with that team forever and always. And so there was like a sense of loyalty. Right now in the NBA, I'm kind of a displaced fan. I don't really have a team anymore. And maybe that's because I used to work in the league, but it's also just because I just want to, I don't know who's going to be where from year to year. So I don't want to overcommit my fandom to some team that's going to be tanking in a year. So now I'm a free agent fan. And I think you really build a lot of passion around a team when fans know who is going to be there from year to year. So I don't necessarily like it. I understand business is business, but I wish that I wish there was this. I don't want the same like fluidity of rosters in the WNBA as we have in the NBA now. I don't like that. Why are you smiling like that? Because you think about Brittany Griner?
I mean, close us out. Close us out. Right
hey, y'all let us know whether or not you agree that Caitlin Clark missed an opportunity to go head-to-head with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson in the NBA three-point shooting contest in this year's All-Star Game, or is she making a good business decision to protect the brand of the WNBA? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section.
So Jimmy Butler has now been suspended indefinitely by the Miami Heat after walking out of practice. This comes after Butler was suspended for 7 games earlier this month and then another 2 games after missing the team plane. Butler, of course, is wanting a max contract extension, and Pat Riley, who initially said he wouldn't trade Butler, isn't budging. So Rodney, who looks worse in this situation, Jimmy Butler or Pat Riley in the Miami Heat?
I think it's always going to be Jimmy Butler, right? If someone is wrongly convicted, once you see him in a jail jumper, they just look guilty. And that's what's happening with Jimmy Butler. Even if everything that he's doing right now is actually with good cause and good merit, he looks crazy as hell. And so I think he's doing he's doing a bad job of caring about his public image, but he's also doing a good job of getting the thing that he wants, because they are going to have to trade him. Right. There's no way that the Miami Heat are going to want to cling on to him with all of this stuff going around. This is not the kind of energy that Pat Riley likes around his team. So Jimmy looks bad, but I think he's doing good by virtue of getting the thing that he wants.
Yeah. And I mean, to play devil's advocate a little bit here, unfortunately, and I mentioned that when I just introed the story, Pat Riley did come out and say, we don't want to trade him. So I guess in his mind, he felt like I know, that's what I'm saying. That was before. Yeah. So I feel like maybe in Jimmy's mind, he was like, well, now I got to go out here and just show my ass because he's not going to trade me. He's not going to pay me. So I got to figure out how to get out of this contract. But unfortunately, he still is coming out of this looking worse because you're not, I mean, now granted, there may be some other teams now that may actually come and pick you up because now they can afford you, because you're not going to get the money that you want anymore because.
That's not true. That's not true.
You don't think so?
What he's done is he's wrecked his market value for a trade. So he's wrecked the Miami Heat's ability to actually acquire a decent asset for him. And so wherever Jimmy Butler goes next, he's going to be phenomenal. Don't get it twisted. He can still very much play basketball at an elite level. But what he's done is he's kind of forced the Miami Heat's hand and put them in a position to not be able to get an adequate value in return for his services. And so he's playing this well. It looks bad. But whenever he inevitably gets to his next team and he's putting up the 25, 7 and 5 that we're used to him putting up, people are going to be like, oh, okay, like I'm willing to pay this person because his on-court productivity is so high. He was just in a situation previously that didn't value him the way that we do. It's like, somebody's always going to want your ex. Somebody always going to want your ex. And your ex is going to look good. The skin going to feel extra smooth. But in your heart of hearts that the ex wasn't.
I don't know. I mean, I get what you're saying. I don't know. It just, like I said, it just looks really, really bad. And I don't know if Pat kind of messed up. He played his hand there a little bit initially, but I just don't know. I mean, is anybody really going to want him to come on the team acting like this?
Yes. You think the Phoenix Suns don't want Jimmy Butler instead of Bradley Beal?
And that's where he should probably be. That's where he should probably be.
He could go to the Warriors. He could go to the Grizzlies. He could go to Houston. I'm just saying, it's money out there for the man. Y'all let us know your thoughts. Is Jimmy Butler handling this situation good, or is he completely ruining his reputation? Let us know your thoughts.
All right, folks, we've got a special guest in the building today. You know him as a former NBA star who brought intensity to every game, but off the court, he's made just as big of an impact as a writer, activist, and leader in social justice conversations. He's the author of the powerful book, We Matter, Athletes and Activism, where he gives a platform to athletes speaking out on issues that matter the most. Y'all give it up and welcome the one and only Etan Thomas. What's up, cousin?
How you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate you, brother. You looking real Love Jones over there.
Oh, I love it.
Looking real neo soul in the building, my guy.
There for you.
Man, we appreciate having you. Also a poet as well. So you are kind of like, the Renaissance man that Lorenz Tate played in Love Jones. And we can be honest, you just Kahoot and you're 6'10", so it's a little bit different. A little different. Man, I want to start at a place where you and I have some point of intersection, right? You being drafted by the Washington Wizards. I worked for the organization for 5 years. It is looking very bleak this season for the Wizards. Do you see any light at the end of the tunnel? Obviously, they're in kind of a tank mode, likely hoping to position themselves to get Cooper Flagg or Dylan Harper. What are your thoughts on the Wizards in the near future?
I mean, they have a lot of young talent, so they're letting the young guys play. And, it's a situation where people just have to kind of be patient. I wouldn't necessarily say tank, but I know they're letting the young guys kind of go and letting them kind of, because they're young. Like when I say young, they're like teenagers. You know what I mean? Like they're really young.
But then you got Poole and Cools, though. So it's like it's a weird integration of players who have had some success, right? You got 2 NBA champions who at this point are veterans. And then you do have all of the international young players that they've drafted. So it's a weird
It is a weird thing. A lot of the conversations, they don't know if those two will necessarily be here long term. They're going to just go with kind of the youth wave. But and that's, no disrespect to them. They're just, in different places of where they're trying to develop a team. But, like you said, they're trying to see if they can get one of those top picks in the draft, and things could quickly change. But, I think I like what I see from the young players. It's just that they're so young. So
all right.
They're young.
Let me ask you a real question. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They keep drafting international players. And obviously, when you play in D.C., it is a very international market, right? It is the most powerful city in the world. And so you got a lot of different representation from around the world. And it feels like the organization drafts players to have some kind of celebratory night. When Gortat was there, they had the Polish Heritage Night. It's a thing that they do. Yeah. Do you feel like they're using this team as an international point of leverage to create like some kind of cultural unification, or are they actually trying to win a championship? That's my real question, man.
I mean, I haven't heard that question before. I get your point. You know what I mean? You definitely have a point. I don't know if that necessarily is the thought. I know they want to win games. I know they want to build a roster and everything like that. But I hear what you're saying. I'm not sure.
You are a man who is seen and known to stand very strongly in his convictions. You use your platform to speak about things that are important to you. And I think a lot of that conversation, especially after your career, has been different for the modern day athlete, right? Many athletes are highly, highly criticized and critiqued for using their platform to speak about societal issues and or politics. So I want to ask, where do you fall in terms of athletes being outspoken about political matters? Do you think it's something that belongs in sport or not?
Oh, 100%. I mean, there's a long history. So one of the things that I did before you mentioned my book, so I'm not just shameless plug, but you mentioned my book earlier. What I did with We Matter Athletes and Activism is that I wanted to interview a lot of the athletes from the past that I grew up admiring who use their positions and their platform. So I got to interview like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Bill Russell and, John Carlos and Tommy Smith. And so I grew up really admiring them. So I'm someone who really wanted to push for athletes to continue to use their voice. Now, for a little while, say after Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf and Craig Hodges, it was quiet for a little while. And then there was this resurgence after, Trayvon Martin happened and Kaepernick took a knee, and you had Eric Garner, and you had, all these different, unfortunate deaths at the hands of the police. And then you had George Floyd. So all of these athletes were using their positions, their platforms, and their speaking and their, talking and different things. I thought it was wonderful. So I wanted to just highlight it and really to encourage other athletes to continue doing it. Interestingly enough, one of the athletes I interviewed was John Wall. Mm-hmm. And he talked about how he was inspired by seeing Carmelo Anthony and LeBron James and D Wade when they spoke at the ESPYs. And they started talking about this. So he was talking about how he was inspired. But that's the way it is. When you have the top athletes really using their voice and their platform, they inspire the younger ones. He was younger then. Right. So that's a long way of saying, yes, I hope athletes continue to use their voices and their platforms.
So then somebody like Kyrie Irving, mm-hmm. who has been very outspoken about a lot of his beliefs, feels like he's been silenced he doesn't speak nearly as much about some of the things that he used to be very public about. Do you feel like because of the brand deals that exist around the sport now, right? Everybody is getting more money outside of the league than just their NBA paycheck. Do you feel like these brands are working to make sure that these athletes are no longer taking such strong and stark political positions?
I would say yes if you didn't have LeBron James. Okay. So LeBron James kind of, he was somebody who was very vocal, speaking on different things, and got a lot of backlash. Trump was literally, saying different things about him, saying now he was, unintelligent, shouldn't be speaking, and they had a whole shut up and dribble. That was all, about LeBron James. So you're gonna get the backlash, but one thing that I really respect about him is that it never silenced him. It didn't make him not want to say anything, even if there was backlash. And the backlash is going to come. The backlash was there back in the day. If you talked about to any of the athletes from the past in the 60s, the way that they had backlash was a whole different level of how we have backlash now. Now, you'll see athletes from the 60s praised. You know what I mean? You'll see the images and the statues of Muhammad Ali and John Carlos and Tommy Smith. They're speaking at different places and, having buildings named after him and all that. But that's not how it was when they were speaking back in the 60s. They were like public enemy number one. So now you just have, social media added to it. So now everybody has a platform. So everybody can say things a little bit louder. But they had social media back then. You imagine when Muhammad Ali said he wasn't going to go to the war? When he was hanging with Malcolm X, the way that the backlash would have been on social media, I can't even imagine. I respect Kyrie so much. I honestly do. And the way that he stood strong and the whole league came down on him and the media came down on him and the black media especially came down on him, everybody that was in a power that be position came down on him. And it was it was amazing to really see because they casted him as so evil, and started attributing different things that he didn't even say. So that was a very unique situation in the way that played out, and the ADL got involved, and he had to have the 8 steps to get back into the good graces of the NBA. That was very frustrating to see.
They had a lot more to say about Kyrie than they do a man doing a hail salute.
All right.
Inauguration.
They didn't have any problem with that.
You know what, Samaria? Let's just move on to the next question.
Go ahead, though.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on and stopping by, chopping it up with us today. You all make sure to check out his book, We Matter, Athletes and Activism. And don't forget to drop a comment below and let us know who you would like to see on the next show.
After 7 years of living in the elephant graveyard that is Sacramento, it appears that De'Aaron Fox is ready to be somewhere with better food, more to do, and actually has a chance to compete for a championship. The Sacramento Kings are once again entering a pivotal moment with a homebred superstar. Of course, this trend started with Chris Webber, then it was DeMarcus Cousins, and now it's Fox, with rumors swirling that Fox may want to land anywhere between Orlando, Houston, or San Antonio with Wemby, which would be a phenomenal pairing. The Kings have done a pretty bad job of flanking Fox and fellow All-Star Sabonis with wing talent. The roster at times has been held together by duct tape, and even though I love DeMar DeRozan, he never looked like much of a good fit. And so now the Kings have been winning. If I can admit, they have been winning games since firing Mike Brown and handing the keys over to Doug Christie, but the outlook is still very bleak from a big picture standpoint. So Sacramento, you are getting the fumble of the week for not knowing how to ever handle good things. Samaria, after 7 years, is De'Aaron Fox justified in wanting to seek greener pastures?
No, I don't think that he is, because honestly, it kind of sucks because I was hoping that this current roster was going to be a difference maker for the Kings, and it doesn't, like you just mentioned, it doesn't feel like things are gelling. So no, I mean, I can see why he would want to leave. I would hate that though.
I think you like he signed to Steph Curry's brand, which to me is crazy because they're like backdoor competition with each other, like Sacramento and the Bay aren't too far apart. The Warriors and Kings series over the past few years has been very, very hotly contested, we'll just call it. So I was surprised by that, but he probably won't make the All-Star game this year. I don't think he made it last year. And so he's kind of living in a market right now that doesn't allow him to cash in on the work and the effort that he puts forth on the floor. His numbers, he's always averaging, anywhere around 25, 5 and 5. He's spectacular. He's phenomenal. Last year was the NBA's Mr. Clutch, the most clutch player in the entire league. And I don't think anybody regards him quite like that on a public scale. And so I think he's looking for a market that gives him a chance to be able to win so that the world can see just how good he is, which I'm in alignment with.
Well, of the teams that you named, who do you feel like is the best fit for De'Aaron?
I think it's San Antonio. Because he can for sure be a secondary guy playing off of Wemby. But then I think Houston, man, if you can swap out De'Aaron Fox for Van Fleet, and you have Etan Thomas, you have Jalen Green, I think that's a really, really tough team to deal with. So it's either San Antonio or Houston. He's from Texas, so I'm sure that's another reason why he would like to go there. I think he's from the Houston area more so. But wherever he goes, he's going to be an impact player. He's no less than a top 7 point guard in the league. And so he'll be impactful wherever he ends up. And I do think that it's time for him to get out of Sacramento because they just don't know how to put together good rosters. Their team just doesn't. It never makes sense. They didn't do it for DeMarcus Cousins, and they didn't do it. They did it with Chris Webber. They got cheated in the playoffs against the Lakers. But, stuff happens. Y'all let us know your thoughts on my fumble of the week. Is De'Aaron Fox making the right call by finally telling the world he's ready to get the hell up out of Sacramento? Let us know in the comment section, beloved.
All right, that's all for this week. Thank you so much for joining us for another great episode of The Fumble. Make sure to subscribe to The Fumble and at The Fumble Sports on all of our social media platforms. Of course, we deliver the latest in sports every day on our YouTube page with our girl Jackie Ray, and every Friday right here at The Fumble with myself, Samaria Terry, and my co-host, Rodney Rikai.
And if y'all are wondering, Samaria Terry definitely decided to try to dress like me today, and that's why we are so color coordinated, but it's all good. It's all good. You got to follow the fashion leader, and clearly I established the fashion culture around here. So shout out to me and me alone and my phenomenal eye for colors, color palettes, color textures, and just overall fashion. Thank you all so much for enjoying another episode of The Fumble. I'm Rodney Rikai. Good day.